Hey there, YouTube. Thanks for joining me again. We're back today. Yes, that vapor came off of a tank, a clearomizer to be exact. It is the new Aspire Atlantis. I'm running her on my DNA 30 device. I've got her set at 30 watts. This thing has got to be one of the best tanks that I've ever used. Now, to get this out of the way, there is a downfall. With this being a sub-ohm tank, you're going to have a device that is capable of firing that. I know Aspire has come out with some new batteries and the new mods that will fire it. If you do not already have something that will, if you've got like the MVP2 that you're still using, some of the smoke, cylindrical mods that take an 18650 battery, they'll only fire to a 1.2 ohm build. Different things like that. You're going to have to pick something else up. What you want to get, that's completely up to you. Now, the packaging on this is pretty nice. We'll take a look up close, but I wanted to read the back of this, which is their, big selling point on this. But it says, Aspire Atlantis has raised the bar to new heights. The next generation tank system brings improved adjustable airflow and sub-ohm coils that provide performance similar to even the best rebuildable atomizer. By enhancing Aspire's bottom vertical coil design, vapors will experience better taste and vapor production. Aspire Atlantis tank design is easy to carry, install, and refill. So, I've been using this tank since I picked it up. It's been a little over, about a week. And I have to say, for a clearomizer, I am damn impressed. That's why we're doing the review. I've been down at my local vape store where I picked this thing up. And there have been a few customers come in that have been looking for something different, something new. And I actually had this with me, so I was able to show them, and they ended up picking it up. This has been a really good tank. Now, that's not to say there's not some downfalls to it that I found, or might be some cons to me. So, like I said, if you are interested in this, make sure you have either a regulated device that will fire a 0.5 ohm build, or make sure that you're running a mechanical mod. So, I'm actually vaping some Max VG juice in here, and as you can see, it's almost empty. The reason I'm doing that right now is I want to show you guys up close how to refill it. There's been one of the cons on this on refilling. We'll get into that up close. But all in all, this thing is pretty nice. Definitely for someone that wants to be able to take a lung inhale off of a tank system that you're not having to build and mess with. So this is going to be for those people that, like me, I love RDAs, I like the flavor, I like the build, but at the same time, I like my K-Funs, I like my Orchid. But if I just want to go and I want to do something real quick and I don't have time to build, or I don't have time to worry about re-wicking, or this goes right there with me, it has been great. We'll go ahead. I'm going to show you guys, see if you can see it, the air hole. So that is wide open. Now it looks like in the middle there it's kind of closed, but that's actually the coil head that you're seeing inside of there. That's the metal. So as you can see there, that's wide open. You can see the dark space in there. So we click this thing over. That's the next adjustment on there. There's 4 adjustments on here. And there she is. So it blocks it off a little bit there. Go to the next one. Now you're at a regular cylindrical hole instead of being like a cycloptic type design. This is a rather large hole too. Again, still more for lung inhale, not so much for anything else. Go to the smallest airflow setting. Now this is going to be even bigger than your regular Nautilus wide open. We'll go ahead and take a vape on that and we'll see what she's like. So you can kind of get that mouth to lung in there. It's still a little airy for that, but where I've been enjoying it the most actually is not even wide open. It's the second to wide open air hole. It's been good. It's at 30 watts. Now Aspire came out with something on Facebook stating that, you know, for performance and everything else on this thing, the coil life and everything, you should vape this between 20 and 30 watts. Keeping it in that range will give you the maximum life expectancy out of these coils. Well, I've got my DNA 30 device. I have not pushed this thing over 30 watts because, again, this is for longevity. This is for ease of use. I don't want to try to burn something up and see. Now, I know there's been some other people that have run this higher just to see how it would do, 40, 45 watts, and 50 watts. Matt with Suck My Mod was vaping between 40 and 45 watts to show what it would do. Vaping with Twisted 420 said something about running this thing at 50 watts for a full day, trying to burn the coil or get a burnt taste or wear the coil out so that way he could do his review, and was not able to do it in a day span of running at 50 watts. Now, I have kept this under Aspire's setup and to see how they, you know, have rated this. I picked this up at my local vape shop, and since then I've been in there and I've had this on me actually, or been out in the truck, and people have come in kind of interested in it or looking for something different, and they after seeing the performance on it decided to go ahead and pick it up, and I really hope they're as happy as I am. So before we get into too much else, we'll go ahead and dive up, take a look so that way you can see me refill it as well, and then we'll come back up and we'll talk about some more things on this tank. So let's have a closer look. Okay, so here we are looking at the Aspire Atlantis up close. It's got the nice engraving up there. It says Aspire. Got a nice look and design to it. Detachable drip tip, your base, and your typical 510 that has the little spring-loaded bottom piece on this deal that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I see why they do it, and it is what it is. But just like your Nautiluses and everything else, same 510 setup. Again, there's where I like to have this thing set, and like I said, it is a little low. Now, when Aspire released the information on this, they said that due to the coil's design, it was suitable for heavy VG liquids. I wasn't sure on how heavy VG they meant, so I ran some of my white label juice through there that's max VG. This is the third tank that I've gone through on this coil. I have not changed out from the original coil it came with, and it is done just fine. So let's go ahead and get the packaging. I'll set this aside and we'll take a look at packaging real quick. So here is the Aspire packaging, and your tank sits right in there. It's got the nice plastic cover. We'll go ahead and open her up. So I've got it folding open just because of the way this is set right now. I've still got one of the little plastic pieces on there, but it comes really nice packaged. We've got the nice little plastic set up there. So we're going to move down just a little bit. I'll pull the back off. Now in the back, I just knocked over the damn tank. That's good. So it's got a replacement piece of Pyrex glass. Now I don't know if they decided to do that because people might have broke their Nautiluses and were upset that they did, or if this is supposed to be of less quality, what the deal is, but it is kind of nice that they do it. I'm not real hard on my vape gear. If you are, and you use this like I intend to take it out all the time, that's probably a good thing to have. There's a replacement coil that it comes with. So as you can see, mine's still packaged in there. I'm going to try to get this out for you guys. It is kind of a pain in the butt. So a rather large coil. Take it out of the plastic. Here we are. So again, so here's the coil, and we have the large ass air hole down here. This thing is probably 2.5 times the size of the original like Nautilus BVCs. It's got the 4 holes for wicking, and my camera's not wanting to focus. Sorry guys, let me see if I can get it to work. So here we are, normal 4 holes. They are very large holes for the wicking. I have not had any problems with anything, and like I said, I started running the Max VG. So here's the coil. You can see down in there, it like 24 gauge Canthal is what they're using, or something equivalent to 24 gauge. It's got the wicking like the BVC before, and you can see all the way down there. It's a larger coil in diameter, inner diameter as well, which I think kind of helps. And with the amount of airflow that you get through this, I think it kind of helps cool the coil down better to allow for better lifespan. Let's go ahead and put this up. Now, in the packaging, when I received it, there was nothing else other than what I'm pulling out for you. So, there was no instruction book, nothing. That kind of was an issue because this is a new design on their tank, so I had to kind of just figure out how I was going to take this thing apart and utilize it. The only other thing it came with was like this, as a little like us on Facebook sticker. You know, it's got some of their products on there, whatever. And then on the very back, it's got their stuff. Now they do have this new holographic authenticity sticker here, the scratch and check for your barcode. So we're back. We're going to now. This you use the same as you would your Nautilus Mini. So you unscrew here to get the top off, or the bottom base off, and that's how you're going to fill it as well. Whoops. And I'm dropping more shit. So, another thing I wanted to show you, this has been a week's worth of use on this. You can see my wicking material is still, it looks like it's saturated like it should. And let's take a look at that coil. Let's see if I can get some light down in there for you. And will you work? Oh, nice and bright. That coil still looks pretty damn good. You got a few strands, you got a little bit of darkening going on, which is to be expected. Like I said, about a week's worth of use on this, but that's still a pretty clean coil. And as you can see, the wicking material is still very nice on this. Yeah, it still has that screen mesh around it, but like you would notice on your other Nautiluses, this Atlantis, that screen isn't black, everything else isn't turning all black. And why is it still doing that? Okay, so let's go ahead and turn the light off on it, see if that'll help. Okay, but you know, it does fit in just like the old ones. You unscrew it from the base down here, and there she is. So, and I'm dripping fucking juice everywhere. Sorry, guys. But there's your base. You got your 510 little spring-loaded pin down there, and not much else to it. Now, one thing I can say, and I'm going to mention this now, when I received mine, every other Aspire product I've ever used, you get it, it's a clearomizer, it's a tank, okay, great. It was clean. This Atlantis, not so much. Now, I usually wash everything anyway. So, I pulled it out, and I wanted to see the airflow, so I took a pull off my airflow, and that was not good. There was a very heavy machine oil taste to it. So, I still got a little bit of juice in there, guys, so I'm not going to pop that. But to take this glass off, you literally just pull. You pull it off, you can wiggle it, you know, but it's just pressed in there. Let's see if you can see down in there. It just presses it down in there and screws on. So let's go ahead and try to refill this for you on camera. I'm going to use some of my heavy VG juice again from White Label. I've got it in a smaller bottle because I don't like their big ones. Now, I've got a nice little needle tip on there. In order to do this, I have to stick that down there and then fill her up. Now, as you can see, let's see if you can see, that needle tip barely fits down on there. So, when you're filling, you have to be careful that you're not dripping down the bottom of this thing. So, that's what I was talking about. It's not the easiest thing to fill, guys. With a glass dropper or something like that, it will not be very easy. Now, I did do this with a glass dropper once, actually twice, and not the easiest thing to do. So when you fill her up, you can see where the little notches are in there. You'll go right to the bottom of that on this chimney. Right to the bottom notch, otherwise it's going to flow down in there. You'll pop your base back on. Your coil goes right inside of there. Now, because this thing is so large, and the coils are big, you do have to make sure she fits down in there right before you start screwing it on. Otherwise, you're going to stick that right through the top of your coil. Screw her down to where she's snug. And what I do is right in there, I check for the wicking material on the holes. So she's nice and snug. Got that one there. That one's lined up like she should. I check all of them, make sure they're kind of in the middle. Now there is a decent enough gap in there. It provides wicking anyway. I'm just kind of weird and I like to be able to see it. So there's that nice little drip tip here. Now this is compatible with some of your other 510 drip tips if you want to change it out. There was a gentleman that picked one of these up after seeing mine, and he bought a Delrin drip tip, and it fit just fine. Now, when I took it back to the vapor shop and was letting other people try it out the next day after I purchased this, they had put another just standard drip tip on there, but it was loose. It didn't fit in there all the way. So, unless you want to keep this one, make sure that your vape shop will let you kind of make sure that's dry in there and stuff, and or when you purchase this, take it out of the package, let them see, if you can find one that'll fit in there good. Don't just pick one up thinking that all 510s are going to fit in there just fine, because not all of them did. So let's go ahead and go back up top. I'll put this back on my DNA 30 and we'll vape and we'll talk a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's better. Got my juice in there. And we are back up. So, like I said, not all 510 drip tips will fit on there, but there are some that will. Now, I don't know if it'll be all your standard metal ones won't. The Delrin will. You're just going to have to find that out. Like I said, it was a hit and miss with us. They did it just to try it out. But one thing I didn't show you, it's a fairly wide bore drip tip. So, you're getting a lot of good vapor out of it when you're taking your inhale. This, like I said, has to be run between 20 and 30 watts is what they say. They say if you run it lower from Aspire, if you run it any lower than 20 watts, you run a risk of causing problems to the coil. I don't know, other than maybe it's not getting warm enough to vaporize everything good because you are running the thicker wire in there, if that's what they're talking about, or what the deal is. But this is a good tank running between that 20 and 30 watts. So let's take a look here. You can see it's at 30 watts. 30. It is a 0.5 ohm exactly reading on this. So again, you're going to have something that's going to fire that. Let's talk price. Aspire has set the price on this for all resellers to $45. So when they did that, they kind of tied everybody's hands they're supposed to sell it for $45. They can sell it for a little bit higher, I guess, but minimum is $45. I think that's going to be an okay thing, because that way people can't buy a large quantity, get them a little bit better price, because when they do that, that's for your wholesalers to make a little extra money. You're also not going to run into somebody running around selling this thing for, wholesale price, and somebody else losing the business and stuck with them because of that. Now, I understand, free enterprise and all that, but there's pros and cons to everything. So, the cons. With that chimney being as wide as it is a little bit harder to fill. If you run the little glass droppers or a wider tip on your plastic juice bottles, it is going to be a little bit harder to fill than to fill with like that needle point. Another con is this tank looks bigger than what it is. It's bigger than the Mini, but not quite as fat. Oh, I guess it is. But doesn't look quite as large as your regular standard Nautilus. But this only holds 2 mils of liquid. The Nautilus Mini held 2.5. So you can go through liquid pretty quick on this, especially running at 30 watts. But again, for me, if I'm on the go driving, it's alright. I haven't taken it on a long trip to be able to check, but I guess if I go on a long trip, I take this and like my big dripper or, something else with me. I don't know. It does last me a little while. I am a heavy vapor though, so, I can go through a few tanks in a day easily and still utilize other devices. I'm going to go have another vape on this. As you can see, vapor production for a clearomizer is great. They say right up there with some of the best RDAs. I'll give you some of the okay RDA. Well, I'll give you some of the more flavorful RDAs, not ones built for cloud chasing. It does have good vapor production though. For a tank, by far out of the park. I have not found a better tank without doing a bunch of modifications that this doesn't beat vapor production wise. Now flavor. They say flavor's up there with it. I'm going to say flavor is a con on this. Don't get me wrong, it has very good flavor, and I'm vaping the strawberry custard, and it is great flavor. I think that my regular Nautilus mini coils, the BVCs, their original ones, had a little bit better flavor, but I think that was due to the more restricted airflow. I can turn this down and I get better flavor, but for me it wasn't as good a flavor. Now, is it good enough flavor that I really enjoy this? Yes, it is. So on a scale of 1 to 10 flavor, I'm going to give this like a 6.5, 7. Not great, but not horrible either. It is good enough that you can taste your juice and it is good. Now, when you first get this and you put your coil in there and you let it sit for the 2 minutes like they tell you, it took me about 2.5 days for this coil to fully break in to where I was getting the flavor that I'm getting now. So if that happens, you don't be discouraged with it. Just keep enjoying it, put it on a tighter draw, whatever you need to do if this interests you. But vapor production on it from a 1 to 10 scale, like I said, this is the second closed off. It's not even, let's go ahead and do wide open, see if I can do a better shot for you guys here. So, wide open. Amazing. Amazing vapor production. 1 to 10 scale for a tank, a 10 by far. Flavor, 6.5, 7. But again, I'm comparing to vaping at really high wattages on an RDA. So, for a tank flavor wise, it would rate higher. But if they're wanting to say something, I'm gonna make them live up to that. Price $45, and I think that's a fair price. I really do. If you remember when the Nautiluses came out and the Nautilus Minis, they were kind of right up there with that price. They weren't far off. For what you're getting, I think it's great. And I talked to one gentleman in one of the vape stores, and he was looking at possibly wanting the Nautilus Mini. He ended up going with this because he did have a Vapor Shark DNA 30, and he was concerned about being able to fire it. But I showed him my DNA 30 device. I told him, yeah, you'll be fine, 0.5, you're good. And he ended up purchasing this over the Mini. Now, I think he made a very wise choice. Here's part of the reason, because if you go into overall factor of price, the price on these coils, Aspire is set, I believe they were telling me down at the shop, it's $25.01 for a 5-pack. So, $5 a coil. Okay, you could very easily go into a shop and spend $5 a coil on the BVCs. Those things lasted me between 15 and 20 watts, which was kind of an average where they said, oh yeah, these things shine. Bullshit. Aspire on your original design, because those things lasted me like 3 days. And I bought multiple packs of coils. I bought them to put in my big Nautilus. My mini Nautilus that I have, I gave to my wife because it just seemed to go through coils even quicker. I don't know if there wasn't enough juice around it or what, but I ended up retiring my Nautiluses due to that. They are sitting in my shelf. I still have them. Will I use them? Possibly in a pinch, but they last me 2 to 3 days. And I cannot vape heavy VG liquid in them. This is max VG liquid that I put in this thing. And this wicks keeps up, no dry hits. I can chain vape it 30 watts, no problem. Keeps up, never get a dry hit, never even get close to a dry hit. It's a nice vape every time. So do I think the price is worth it? Absolutely. Do I think the coils are reasonable? Yes, and that's where I said the longevity of the coils. I've been running this for over a week. That is the longest I have ever gotten out of a clearomizer coil, ever. And I've gone through Kanger coils, I've gone through Aspire coils, I've tried a bunch, and none of them have lasted nearly as long as this one. And like I showed you up close, that thing still looks pretty new in there. The wicking material around it still looks good. Everything looks good. I'm sure I can get at least another week out of that. Now, if I can get 2 to 3 weeks on $5 on a coil, I'm happy. Especially because this isn't going to be used all the time for me. So, in theory, I have been using this all the time to do the review. But in theory, this coil will probably last me another month because I will go to my RDAs more when I'm at home after doing this review. If you use it every day like I've been doing, and I vape a lot because I was a heavy smoker, again, a week and that coil still looks good. And again, on a heavy VG juice. So you put a thinner viscosity juice in there, granted darker, you know, all of that. I vaped my heavy VG juices from White Label on this. I've also vaped unicorn milk from Cutwood. What else? There was a few other things I put in there, and it's been really good, and still on the same coil. No problems with the wicking at all, and I love this tank. So, do I recommend it? Yes, I recommend it. Would I buy this again? Absolutely. I'm actually getting ready to buy my wife one of these, but the downfall is I've got to buy her a mod that will handle it. So I'm waiting on that. But I am actually going to purchase another one, and I see myself utilizing this a lot more now that Aspire has done something good with these to get it up and going. Like I said, I can run max VG, I can run thinner juices, I can run any juice I want in this, and it keeps up with me. That alone is worth me spending the money on a tank system that's not something I have to build. Because like I said, I enjoy building, I love building, I like my K-Fun, I love my Orchid. But if those need to be rebuilt or rewicked or something, and I don't have time to do it because I got to go out and do something, this is great. Or for somebody that wants to get into it. So pros, I'm going to say the price is a pro. I don't see where $45 is that bad of a deal. Airflow. This thing has massive airflow, and for me on a clearomizer, it cools it down enough wide open. It's too much for me. It sits flush on everything that I own. The machining is very well done on it. Now let's get into the cons that I found. Con, packaging. No instructions. So if somebody doesn't know what they're getting, never had a Aspire product, especially a Nautilus, it could be a little confusing on how to do it. Even just a quick little reference card, something maybe would have been better. That's a con. Being able to fill it, that chimney being so big and that Pyrex being the shape that it is, another con. It makes it a little bit harder to fill. And the drip tips, that's the third con. Not all drip tips work on this. So I found 3 cons, and I have been like nitpicking the hell out of this thing to figure it out. Do I think it's worth the money? I've already said yes. Do I recommend this tank? Already said yes. Would I buy it again? Hell yes. I'm actually going to buy another one. So, you guys have a wonderful day. We have made it through another Thanksgiving holiday. We'll vape, we'll be out, and until next time, guys, subscribe to my page. Like I said, I've got some more exciting reviews coming up. I'm actually quite excited to do one, waiting for information to come back from the company to get some more information on so I can provide it to you guys. And as soon as I get that, I will have that review up for you. Until then, have a good one, guys, and we'll go on.